Imagine a world where innocence is shattered, where the unthinkable becomes reality. Today, we're delving into the dark and disturbing realm of teenage killers who are now serving life sentences. These aren't your typical troubled teens. They are individuals who committed heinous acts that shocked communities and left lasting scars. In New York, another young boy's name became synonymous with tragedy. Eric Smith was only 13 when he committed a crime that would haunt his community for years to come. In 2009, at the age of 15, Alyssa committed a crime that seemed to come straight from a horror movie. At 16, Brenda opened fire on Cleveland Elementary School, killing the principal and a custodian, and wounding 8 children and a police officer. In 2006, at just 12 years old, Jasmine and her 23-year-old boyfriend carried out a horrific plan to murder her family. Her parents and 8-year-old brother were found stabbed to death in their home. And what about the victims and their families? How do we balance justice for them with the unique circumstances of juvenile offenders? The lives lost can never be replaced, and the pain inflicted on families and communities may never fully heal. The case was particularly disturbing due to Jasmine's young age and the apparent motive, her parents' disapproval of her relationship with an older man. It raised serious questions about the vulnerability of young teens to manipulation and the dangers of online relationships. These cases challenge our notions of innocence, justice, and the very nature of evil itself. They force us to confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes the most horrific acts can be committed by those we least expect. Maybe we can identify warning signs earlier, provide better support for troubled teens, and create a justice system that balances punishment with rehabilitation. Not as sensationalized tales of horror, but as calls to action. For the sake of potential victims, for the troubled youth who might be saved from a dark path, and for the betterment of society as a whole. Because in the end, how we treat the most vulnerable among us, even those who have committed terrible acts, says more about us than it does about them. To create a society where children are supported, where mental health is prioritized, and where justice is tempered with compassion and understanding. Let's use these stories as a catalyst for change, a reason to do better, and a reminder of the complexities of human nature. Because only by facing the darkness can we hope to find the light. From Jordan Brown in Pennsylvania to Jasmine Richardson in Alberta, each story serves as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within even the youngest members of our society. When asked why she did it, her chilling response was, "I don't like Mondays." They challenge our understanding of childhood innocence and the capacity for evil. But they also raise important questions about how we as a society handle juvenile offenders. They challenge us to look beyond the headlines, to see the human beings behind the crimes, and to ask ourselves what we can do to prevent such tragedies in the future. Brenda's case highlighted issues of gun access and the need for better mental health support for troubled teens. By understanding the factors that lead to these crimes, whether it's mental health issues, societal pressures, or systemic failures, we might be able to intervene before it's too late. She lured her 9-year-old neighbor, Elizabeth Olton, into the woods, where she strangled her, stabbed her, and buried her in a shallow grave. What made this crime even more chilling was Alyssa's diary entry describing the murder as an amazing experience. The case raised disturbing questions about teenage mental health and the influence of violent media. In 1993, Eric lured 4-year-old Derek Roby into a wooded area, where he brutally beat and sexually assaulted the young boy before strangling him to death. The senselessness of the act left people struggling to understand how a child could be capable of such cruelty. But what drives a child to commit such atrocities? And how does society grapple with the aftermath? Join us as we explore the chilling stories of 6 young offenders whose actions forever altered the course of their lives and the lives of their victims. Our journey begins with Jordan Brown, a name that sent shockwaves through Pennsylvania in 2009. At just 11 years old, Jordan was accused of a crime so horrific it's hard to comprehend. The victim? His father's pregnant fiancée, Kinsey Houck. She was found dead in her bed, shot execution style with a shotgun. The brutality of the crime was matched only by the youth of the alleged perpetrator. Jordan's case ignited a fierce debate about trying children as adults and the nature of juvenile justice. But Jordan's story is just the beginning. Moving south to Florida, we encounter the case of Lionel Tate. At 12 years old, Lionel became the youngest person in modern U.S. history to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His crime? The beating death of 6-year-old Tiffany Unick in 1999. Lionel claimed he was imitating pro wrestling moves, but the severity of Tiffany's injuries told a different story. The case sparked intense debate about the culpability of children and the harshness of mandatory sentencing laws. Our next stop takes us to Missouri, where the name Alyssa Bustamante still sends chills down the spines of local residents. California brings us the story of Brenda Spencer, whose actions on a Monday morning in 1979 would inspire a hit song and forever change the lives of an entire school community. Our final stop takes us north of the border to Alberta, Canada, where the case of Jasmine Richardson shocked the nation. These 6 cases, each more shocking than the last, force us to confront uncomfortable truths about society, justice, and human nature. Is a life sentence appropriate for someone whose brain is still developing? Can rehabilitation work for those who commit such heinous acts at a young age? As we grapple with these questions, it's important to remember that behind each of these cases are real people, both the perpetrators and their victims. But perhaps by examining these cases, we can work towards a better understanding of what drives young people to commit such terrible acts. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. But as we've seen from these 6 cases, the consequences of ignoring these problems can be devastating. As we conclude our journey through these harrowing tales, we're left with a sense of unease. But perhaps in facing these difficult truths, we can work towards a future where such tragedies are less likely to occur. The stories of Jordan, Eric, Lionel, Alyssa, Brenda, and Jasmine serve as a stark reminder of the work that needs to be done. As we move forward, let's carry these stories with us. The road ahead is long and challenging, but it's a journey we must undertake. So, as we close this chapter on some of the most evil teens in prison, let's not forget the lessons they teach us.